Oh, I'm Nancy Mac Roberts Barbary, grandmother to Brianna Brittany Rose Miller. I was born the 11th of May, 1931, Ash Station, Butler County, Pennsylvania. I was the youngest of three daughters. Gertrude was 12 years older. Margaret, called Peggy, was 8 years older.
Okay, Grandma. What was school like for you as a child?
Well, it was very interesting, and I liked history, geography, music. My worst subject was spelling, and I liked biology.
Was your school strict?
Yes, at the time, but the classroom was very quiet, not noisy like some that I've visited with the grandchildren, but no.
Where did you attend school at?
Hamilton School in Ross Township.
In Pennsylvania?
Yes, in Pennsylvania. And then I was there a few years, and then they built a new grade school. I think that was named Helen Hallard. So I went to that. That was just across the courtyard from the high school, and then back to Hamilton for high school.
Okay. Do you remember any fads from your youth? Popular hairstyles or clothing you guys wore?
Well, I wore, page boy and pigtails, and there was upsweep, and another one, I don't know what the name of the style was. You would roll your hair, up on the side, and then you had like a wave here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I can't recall the name of that. But the older boys, some of them, they wore what they called zoot suits, but that was more in this. Yeah, zoot suits.
Oh, zoot suits.
Yes, that was more in the city, though. Maybe you would see some of that out in the country. Why, we'd.
So were you like more of a tomboy growing up?
Yes, yes. I did the gardening and that, digging up the gardening and taking care of the gardening and hauling in the coal for the fire and that for the cook stove. Mm-hmm. And it was a type of cook stove where it had a tank on the side where you could heat your water.
That's cool.
From that. And it wasn't until I was a teenager that we got a gas stove, and later on, eventually a electric stove. It was called Magic Chef. But so we went from coal stove to gas stove to an electric stove.
Did you have any pets when you were growing
up? We had a cat, and when I was very little, we called him Gray, and he enjoyed eating melon rinds.
Melon rinds?
Yeah, we'd have melon, and then he would be there, and he would eat the rinds. He would eat the melon. But I just had the one cat when I was little.
Just the one cat?
Yeah.
Who were your friends when you were growing up?
Well, living in a secluded area, our neighbor had a young child that I occasionally played with, and when she got older and moved away, why, I would visit her. I had a friend that I made in high school, Dorothy Williams. We called her Rusty because of her flaming red hair. And alrighty, and I had a friend, Louise Winters. She went to a Catholic school, and Audrey Parks. She went to the city school. We lived on Route 19. It was called Perrysville Avenue, and it would go from where we lived all the way down to Florida, Route 19.
Cool. Okay, so how did you meet Grandpa?
Actually, I met your granddaddy in high school, at well, it was night school because I was working during the day, and so I took classes at the night school, and that's where I met your granddaddy. And your granddaddy said he first saw me standing on the steps there at the night school. I think it was called Shenley High, and that's actually I met a young man there who happened to be from Butler County, from near Renfrew, where I was born, and Daddy joined us, and we got to talking, and the next thing I knew, we were getting married.
Did you think Grandpa was really handsome?
Your granddaddy was extremely handsome and dashing, and highly intelligent, but he was a very quiet, soft-spoken gentleman.
He was quiet?
Very quiet, but they say, well, because...
Well, you talk a lot, so that works
he
out.
He couldn't get a word in edgewise, because Grandmama would talk. But no, he was so quiet and quite reserved.
What was your favorite thing about him when you first met him?
His eyes, he had beautiful eyes, and the way he had his hair, he had it combed back. He had a high forehead with a widow's peak, and he was quite the distinguished young man, and he always dressed quite well. He had a Lincoln green sports coat that had the light plaid in it, something like the Black Watch plaid. And
what would you guys do when you would go on dates?
well, with going to school and both of us working full time, occasionally we would go to a restaurant for a meal, but outside of that we would talk or just talk on the telephone. And I met him at the start of school, I think in September, and he proposed on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, and then we were married in March on the first day of spring.
What was it like when Grandpa proposed to you?
Well, when he first proposed, I told him no, because...
No. Grandma.
And he looked so hurt when he was leaving and that down the hall and was going down the steps. So I went, after him.
You ran after him?
Yeah, and told him, no, all right, I'll marry you.
Did he look a lot happier then?
Oh, yeah, he smiled.
What did he say? What did he say?
He didn't say anything, because I said he was...
Quiet?
Quiet, yeah.
Did he ask you really romantically to marry you? Or did he get down on one knee?
Yes, I think he did, but...
where were you at when he asked you to marry you?
I was in my apartment. I lived on a second or third floor. It was a house back then where I had 2 rooms and a bath, a bedroom and a kitchen and a bath. And he was at home with his father out in Bethelboro. That was also out in the country.
Did he give you like a ring? Or he just asked you?
Well, there was a ring I wanted that I really liked down in Pittsburgh, where my grandfather had gotten jewelry from my grandmother. But I got to thinking about it. The price of the ring would buy an icebox or a stove, so
So you bought one of those instead?
No,
But you saved it.
No, he took me to a jewelry store early in the morning when the store opened, and we were there when they closed, and I came away with a plain white gold band. But
so you spent all day looking for the perfect ring? Or
yeah, no, I was just trying to decide. I was adding up, the price in my head, because I didn't want him, to spend too much. So I end up, unfortunately, as the years went by, it got lost. But it was just a plain white gold band, and it was beveled. The one I wear was your grandmother, your granddaddy's mother's
Oh.
wedding ring. So he gave that to me when the original one got lost. But it was beveled, so then I could work in the yard or the garden, and it wouldn't get scarred. It was like a little beading top and bottom on the
Oh, nice.
on the band.
Okay, so,
Yes.
how did you choose your children's names? I know you have a lot of kids.
Well, yes, there's 13 of them, 7 boys and 6 girls. Being I spent most of my time when I was young in the woods and in a park, Riverview Park, and that, so Forest was a natural name to go with. So the first one was Forest, Forest, and I had named him another name for a middle name, but when he was baptized, he asked if he could have his daddy's name, so then we changed it to Forrest Raymond Barbary. So then from there, all the other children that came along were named for nature.
Do you want to name all of them? You don't have to do middle names, because I know there's
No.
a lot. Just your first names.
Forrest, Reed, Fern, Cliff, Clay, Cole, Glenn, Buck, Fern, Laurel, Coral Rose, Holly Ray, Fawn,
I think that's
Robin.
all. Robin? That's all of them. Okay, thank you very much, Grandma. Thank you for letting me interview you.
All right.